and in that work give us both strength and wisdom. Amen.
Introduction of visitors.
Mr. Speaker, I am pleased to introduce to you and through you to members of the legislature, Assemblyman Chuck Hardwick of the New Jersey House of Assembly and Ms. Roseanne Swan of the State Legislative Leaders Foundation. That foundation draws its members from state legislators who hold leadership positions in their legislatures. That is to say, speakers and majority and minority leaders. Since 1986, I've had the honor of representing Canada on the board of that foundation. The group is planning to hold its 1991 summer meeting in Kananaskis in July. Assemblyman Hardwick and Ms. Swan are here to make arrangements for the meeting. That meeting will give approximately 35 U.S. legislative leaders and 15 business executives an opportunity to examine overall how Canada addresses significant health issues with special emphasis on the experience in Alberta. I would like now to ask that our honored guests rise in your gallery and receive the warm welcome of the Assembly.
Presenting petitions. Reading and receiving petitions. Presenting reports by standing and special committees. Notices of motions. Introduction of bills.
Edmonton Millwoods.
Mr. Speaker, I request leave to introduce Bill 305, an act to amend the Public Service Employee Relations Act. This act, if passed, will allow employees of the Legislative Assembly to bargain collectively like other workers in the province.
This one okay?
You've never seen it?
Go up and tell them.
Usually.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The bill will not be introduced today. Perhaps you'd like to see me after the House. It has not been properly cleared. Thank you.
Tabling returns and reports.
Member for...
Wish to file with the Assembly today 4 copies of Alberta's International Offices report to the Alberta Legislative Assembly, and copies will be available for all members of the Assembly.
Edmonton Glengarry.
Mr. Speaker, I wish to table the prospectus of Northern Steel Incorporated on the sale of Northern Steel Incorporated.
Minister of Municipal Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, it's my pleasure today to table the report of the Municipal Statutes Review Committee, recommendations for a new Municipal Government Act. The committee has received advice from a number of Albertans and organizations, and this will give the opportunity for Albertans to review this submission between now and 1992 spring.
Introduction of special guests.
The Minister of Economic Development and Trade, followed by the Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, it's my pleasure, sir, to introduce to you and through you 27 students from St. Teresa's School in the constituency of Sherwood Park. They're joined by their teacher, Mrs. Connie Pushman. I had an opportunity to meet with them earlier. We're delighted that they are here to watch the legislative session in action. They're seated in the members' gallery, and I would ask if they would rise so that we could extend a very warm welcome to them.
Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to introduce to you and members of the Assembly some 30 schools from the public school, Delton Elementary School in the constituency of Edmonton-Norwood. Mr. Speaker, they're accompanied by the teachers, Ms. Cameron, Ms. McFall, and parent, Mrs. Love. I'd like them to stand. They're in the public gallery stand and receive the traditional warm welcome from members of the Legislative Assembly.
Red Deer North, followed by Edmonton Glengarry.
Mr. Speaker, it's a privilege for me to introduce to you today 29 individuals who are largely responsible for Alberta being the strong and free province it is today. They are 29 members of the Red Deer Seniors Group. They're here with their leader, Mrs. June Wade. I'd ask them to rise and receive the warm welcome of this assembly.
Member for Edmonton Glengarry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's my pleasure to introduce to you and to members of the Assembly 14 students from Queen Elizabeth High School who are ESL students. They're accompanied by their teachers, Ms. Calabaha and Mrs. Mitchell. I would ask that they stand and receive the traditional welcome of this Assembly.
Additional.
Ministerial statements. Oral question period.
Oral question period, we have this brief speaker's ruling, please. The chair would like to review for the benefit of all honorable members the practice and precedents of this House with respect to the rule of anticipation. Specific references on anticipation can be found in Standing Order 23E, which reads, a member will be called to order by Mr. Speaker if that member E anticipates, contrary to good parliamentary practice, any matter already on the order paper or on notice for consideration. And Beauchesne 513 sub 1 reads, in determining whether a discussion is out of order on the grounds of anticipation, the Speaker must have regard to the probability of the matter anticipated being brought before the House within a reasonable time. And again, Beauchesne 708 reads, the House is not supposed to be informed of the proceedings of a committee on a bill until the bill has been reported. Discussion of the clauses with the Speaker and the Chair when the bill is still before the committee is consequently irregular. Close the quote. A review of Hansard of April 19, 1988 and June 15, 1989 indicates that the Chair has, on almost a yearly basis, made a statement to the House with respect to anticipation. Since last Wednesday, the issue has again been before the House on 3 separate occasions. As stated in the House yesterday, the Chair has attempted during this and prior years to determine if there is some way to be able to allow some questions to proceed. However, it is apparent that the most practical way to deal with anticipation during question period when estimates are before the House is to rule that no questions whatsoever will be allowed with respect to the ministry whose estimates will be called on that day. Furthermore, with respect to bills and motions, the Chair's ruling of June the 15th, 1989 stated, quote, questions can be developed and not ruled out of order if a bill has been introduced in the Assembly. Once the bills reach second reading stage, then they're going to be ruled out of order in terms of question period. Questions developed after a bill's introduction should not be detailed and should relate to the general policy rather than a clause-by-clause examination of the bill. If this occurs in question period, these questions will be ruled out of order. This, honorable members, will remain the practice of this House. Thank you. Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, my questions are to the Minister of Economic Development and Trade, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Economic Development's 1989 briefing book stands out, Mr. Speaker, as a unique testament to this government's financial incompetence and utter recklessness with the public's money, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the public has the right to know. As a result, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to file copies of these briefing notes with the Assembly today, Mr. Speaker. But not only is it bad enough that we're losing all this money, Mr. Speaker, it's done behind closed doors with their corporate friends, Mr. Speaker, so nobody knows what's going on. Mr. Speaker, as a result, this has been fiscally stupid and undemocratic at the same time, Mr. Speaker, and Albertans think this is wrong, Mr. Speaker. My question to the minister is, given that this is the public's money that this government is so carelessly throwing away, how does this minister continue to justify the backroom deals made with his corporate friends, Mr. Speaker?
Mr. Speaker, I'm delighted, too, to table for the honourable member financial programs that are available to the government, and let me file copies with the Legislative Assembly, whereby we outline in a very straightforward way that the basis in which these export loan guarantees are offered are not on our financial database or on our analysis, but on the bank's analysis. I indicated that to the honourable member yesterday, and I'm more than happy to repeat it to him again today. If one examines the basis on which we give them, there is strict criteria which is outlined both in that booklet and in the legislation that enables our department to function, whereby there is strict criteria we have to follow. The criteria is as such that, firstly, the banks, the chartered banks, or the credit unions, or the Alberta Treasury Branch has to accept the financial data and accept the issuing of that loan themselves before we involve ourselves. Once that has done, and once that criteria has been established, we in turn do a thorough analysis, both by the Treasury Department and by our department. And then we only guarantee up to 85% of the export loan guarantee itself. In addition to that, we charge a fee for that to those individuals that take advantage of the export loan guarantee program. These are done on the basis of creating jobs within the province of Alberta so that we can have greater exportation of goods outside of the province. I must say, though, I'm somewhat surprised at the honourable member not understanding the commercial confidentiality nature of this. The honourable member is aware that there's many areas where individuals come to us whereby we have to take into account the confidentiality aspect. We just recently saw whereby his party lost a valuable member in the Ontario legislature because she broke that confidentiality. If the honourable member is suggesting we should have no regard for contracts or obligations of the business community whereby we should have for those individuals on welfare or student loans, there's a real irony to his statement.
Mr. Speaker, this minister knows that that is total and absolute nonsense. Business confidentiality, we're suggesting putting in the public accounts 2 years later, Mr. Speaker. No, the reality is they don't want people to know what they're doing, Mr. Speaker. That's why it's done behind closed doors. Now, Mr. Speaker, I'm not only talking about the export loan guarantees, but there's millions and millions, Mr. Speaker, that we can look at from these briefing notes that have been given to Peter Pocklington and failed companies all over that we've talked about before, Mr. Speaker. And the bottom line, in terms of figures that we have, is that we've lost, Mr. Speaker, over, and I'm using a conservative estimate, $1.3 billion, Mr. Speaker. $1.3 billion, Mr. Speaker. And I want to ask this question to the minister. Isn't it true, rather than the phony figures that they put out that nobody can check on, isn't it true that since 1986, over $1 billion have been lost by this government through bad loans, loan guarantees, equity possessions, and regulatory failures?
No, Mr. Speaker, it is not true, and it's distasteful that the honourable member would indulge in such falsehood.
That's right.
Well, Mr. Speaker,
See your list,
you say it's falsehoods, but you never will come clean and lay it out in the public, Mr. Speaker. I say to this minister that the epitaph for this government from this briefing book is incompetence and secrecy, Mr. Speaker. And if that's not the case, will the minister, if he wants to get in a dispute over figures, will he table in this legislature today the secret deals that this government has made? For example, the ones with Mr. Pocklington. Do it then if you're so sure about your figures.
Mr. Speaker, I just explained to the honourable member the process as it relates to the export loan guarantee, which I indicated to him yesterday also. Let me also indicate to him He relates to a number of other involvements whereby we've backstopped companies. He should talk to the mayor of the city of Edmonton that suggests we offer further support to gainers to make sure that we maintain the jobs in the city of Edmonton. Right. And that's what we're doing. We're maintaining jobs in the city of Edmonton. We're maintaining jobs as it relates to Northern Steel. He should talk to his union counterpart whereby they're suggesting that we continue our support. I indicate to the honourable member that we are accountable through a number of sources. Number one, the public accounts. The export loan guarantees are highlighted in the public accounts, our involvements as it relates to other loan guarantees. We're more than happy to respond to the honourable member as it relates to the specifics of the questions as we have done before. But we also recognize that we have a responsibility which the honourable member does not have, and watching the way he behaves himself, I'm delighted that he never will have that responsibility of governing and carrying out an obligation as it relates to commercial confidentiality and personal confidentiality, such as I indicated to him, whereby a member of his party violated that confidentiality in Ontario and as a consequence lost her job.
Second main question.
Mr. Speaker, this minister knows full well in public accounts you can't get export loans. That's why we put it out yesterday.
That's right.
And the only reason, they've lost over $1 billion behind closed doors, and they don't...
Now we will have the second question.
To the Associate Minister of Family and Social Services. Mr. Speaker, seniors are very upset about the fact that the benefits they receive are being cut. Mr. Speaker, yesterday the minister responsible for seniors said that there was no link between the recent cuts and another secret document, a confidential review of AIDS programs for seniors, Mr. Speaker. Well, perhaps the minister can explain a document which was prepared for discussion at Cabinet in December, which targeted review of seniors programs in the interest of achieving, and I quote, expenditure reductions, a purpose which the paper also states was determined by the Associate Minister of Family and Social Services along with his colleague, the Minister of Municipal Affairs. And I have that document in front of me, Mr. Speaker. My question to the minister, how can the minister possibly deny that the purpose of this confidential review most definitely is to cut back on the benefits available to seniors, Mr. Speaker?
Well, Mr. Speaker, for starters, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition would only have to look at the proof to refute the document he's referring to, because there's actually been an increase in the program spending this year over last year. Some time ago, my department did put together a division, we're still working on that, to coordinate the services that are provided by 12 different departments of this government. The purpose is to coordinate their efforts so that we're not tripping over one another and that we can indeed provide the best coverage of services possible. And that is an ongoing thing, and there's nothing secret about it.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I just beg to differ. This is another secret document that we have, Mr. Speaker.
That's right.
Done behind closed doors, typical way this government operates.
Right. No consulting,
Mr. Speaker, but in fact, to this minister, some of the items outlined in this list of cuts have already happened, such as the elimination of the Seniors Home Heating Program and changes to the Extended Health Benefits Program. And I want to ask the minister then, is the minister then saying that it is just a coincidence that this secret document was presented to Cabinet in December and then it actually followed up on in the budget? It's just a coincidence, Mr. Minister?
Yeah.
It's not a coincidence at all, Mr. Speaker, and I didn't say that I am responsible for the programs. I said I am responsible for the coordination of the programs. The individual departments still have every opportunity to exercise good judgment and value decisions in their own department, and that will continue. But perhaps he should address his remarks to the member or the Minister of Transportation and Utilities if he wants a direct question, his direct question answered. But there is, I repeat, no secret agenda. There's no secret commission, and there's no secret committee running around the country as the Honourable Leader would have us believe.
What's this document about, Mr. Speaker? If it's for the public, why didn't you put it out to the public, Mr. Speaker? Before you announced these cuts in the budget. That's what you did, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my question is to the minister, is that they go on to talk about some other cuts, possible cuts to seniors that could go up to, the Minister of Health is screaming. She's upset, Mr. Speaker, but it says in this document $113 million could be saved. And I want to ask this minister to finally be honest. Isn't it true that this government, again, has a secret agenda to cut back on benefits for seniors, and this already started in the budget? Why don't they at least be honest about it, Mr. Speaker?
Well, Mr. Speaker, it continues that the strongest words show up in the weakest arguments. I can't believe this. Let me put this whole matter to rest, Mr. Speaker. The budget for senior spending was increased to $1.2 billion this year. There was $22 million, to quote his numbers, of programming that had changed or been altered to better reflect the needs of the seniors. I'd point out that that's just over 1% of that total budget towards seniors programs has been altered to better reflect a response to the needs of seniors today. And I really resent the alarmist tactics that's being used in this instance.
Edmonton Glengarry. Leader of the...
Mr. Speaker, the Alberta government has a dreadful record of involving taxpayers' monies in a number of failed ventures, industrial ventures in Alberta. Hundreds of millions of dollars have been squandered. Taxpayers' monies have been squandered by ineptitude and by mismanagement by the government. Now we have a situation where ministries are attempting to recoup monies from these failed companies, and we see continued ineptitude and mismanagement. Mr. Speaker, in the document that I filed today, a leaked prospectus on the sale of Northern Steel, I believe that there is misinformation, information that is grossly misleading. And my question to the Minister of Economic Development is this. Assuming that the Minister is responsible for this document, and before casting blame, I would ask the Minister to confirm that he reviewed the prospectus and that he sanctioned all of the statements and figures that were set out in that document. Will he do that?
Mr. Speaker, let me first indicate to the honourable member, though I do not agree with his statement that led into the question whereby we should not attempt to recoup taxpayers' dollars. He's suggesting we shouldn't try to recoup any of the money that we have invested in these companies. We're going to do our utmost to husband that money properly. We are going to attempt to recoup the money that we invested in Northern Steel, as it indicates, he indicated as it related to the prospectus. I have asked individuals within our department to do their level best to involve themselves in the privatization of this steel company. I naturally am responsible. The buck stops with this minister, and I'm happy to accept that responsibility.
All right, if the blame is clearly at your door, Mr. Minister, why in the prospectus does it state, and does it encourage prospective buyers by stating that there is some $500 million of projected sales of steel to customers in Alberta over the next few years, when in fact 40% of those projected sales are to companies like Magcan, the magnesium company that went under, Oslo that isn't going, projects in the forestry industry that have publicly been shelved. Why are you setting out that kind of information to prospective buyers that is erroneous?
Mr. Speaker, obviously the honourable member is not listening to what takes place in this Legislative Assembly on a daily basis, because we just recently highlighted in excess of $20 billion worth of projects that are on stream or that are coming onto stream within the province of Alberta. It's important that individuals who wish to engage themselves in the purchase of this very important company are aware of the economic activity within the province. I have here a document whereby we highlight in excess of $20 billion worth of projects, making us the economic leader of any province in Canada. If the honourable member wishes copies of those documents, we're more than happy to share them with him.
Mr. Speaker, a prospectus, is Westlock Sturgeon going to ask this question, or Edmonton Glengarry? And I assume Edmonton Glengarry, so please, order. Just keep it down. Edmonton Glengarry, please. Excuse me, honorable member.
This is supposed to be an honest statement. It is supposed to encourage prospective buyers with honest information. This is not honest information. This is anything but honest information. Will the minister commit? Will he commit to amending or changing this document so that it is honest and that it invites people to honest information and not a bunch of baloney?
Mr. Speaker, the only baloney that we're hearing is coming from the honourable member from Edmonton Glengarry, because the information within that documentation is factual. We want to make people aware of the economic well-being of this province, whereby we are continuing to lead economic growth in this country. In addition to... Thank you, sir. Mr. Speaker, the information within that documentation is factual information. We issued it to...
Mr. Honourable member for Edmonton Glengarry, you asked your 3 questions. It isn't up to you now to keep harassing the minister by yelling back and forth. You order, please, and it's not your point to be harassing the chair either. Or Westlock Sturgeon. Order, please. I'm sorry that you happen to be a slow learner, honourable member, my dear friend. Red Deer North.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My questions to the provincial treasurer. The recent budget document shows that our economy has moved away significantly from total dependency on the energy sector, but it's a reality that we still are dependent on those prices and those revenues. The budget's been projected at $23 a barrel. It's been hovering around $20 a barrel. Could the minister indicate to us how long can our projections continue, still be on topic, still be on target, while this stays at the $20 a barrel level?
You now the Minister of the Treasury.
Speaker,
Treasurer, please.
The member from Red Deer North does raise an important point, and I would like to put on the record some of the thought behind our assumptions, because it is important to Albertans to recognize 3 of the points that the member outlined. Number 1, in fact, the Alberta budget, and to some extent, to a great extent, the Alberta economy has moved away from a large dependency on oil and gas. The budget documents which I filed recently indicate that the provincial revenues are about 25% based on non-renewable resource revenue. Significant change over the decade, moving from about 50% down to 25%. But that's also typical of our economy, Mr. Speaker, because we do have a diversified economy, diversified across a variety of sections and with added value in the agriculture and energy sections as well. And that's why we have a very strong economy in contrast to what you see in other parts of Canada. What you will see, though, Mr. Speaker, and it should be important to Albertans to know, that our revenue forecast, the oil and gas forecast that we put out there, is a proxy for people of Alberta to look at and to judge how we have set our course of action and our plan for the year ahead. But it starts on April the 1st, 91, and it goes to March 31st, 92, and that's an important fact, because through the strong demand season, 91-92, you'll see the price start to rise considerably. A year ago, Mr. Speaker, the price of oil was about $12 to $14 in some places. I remember the opposition saying at that time about questioning the efficacy of the price, but today the price is over $21, early in the cycle, at a period when the demand is normally low. And we think, Mr. Speaker, that over the course of the next 12 months, starting April the 1st, that our revenue forecast of $23 will hold. As I pointed out in the budget, on 3 out of the 4 years, Mr. Speaker, the market has been above our forecast. That is to say, we've been below what the market has done, so I think the value...
Good. Thank you, Provincial Treasurer, Red Deer North.
Mr. Speaker, the other external factor affecting our economy here in Alberta, of course, is interest rates. I'd like to ask the minister if he has taken the opportunity yet to sit down with the new federal finance minister, who happens to reside in Alberta, to explain our dissatisfaction with the interest rate policy. Has he taken that opportunity, and if not, why not?
Speaker, I have not done that at this point. I know that some of my colleagues have had contact with the new members, new ministers, and I'll have an opportunity to do that very soon. I would say that it seems to me that Mr. Masinkowski will more fully understand the problems of Alberta in terms of the macroeconomics, such things as interest rates, exchange rates, getting jobs, getting the economy going, because he shares the view that we do that that's an important mandate. But I can conclude that our Premier over the course of the past 3 years and other ministers have argued strongly and longly that we have to get the interest rates down to ensure that our economy is as robust as it has been over the first period of 91. Mr. Speaker, with those interest rates moving down, as we expect they will, with mortgages coming down, Mr. Speaker, as now evidenced by the marketplace, the Alberta economy will snap back like no other economy in Canada, continue to generate jobs, have the lowest unemployment of any province in Canada, and experience real economic growth. Interest rates are significant to it, Mr. Speaker, very significant.
Edmonton Highlands.
Mr. Speaker, on an annual basis, the government used to file with the Assembly documents about this size that showed every single flight by every cabinet minister on the government fleet, Mr. Speaker. They stopped doing that in 1985. But now, as a result of information that the minister finally made available yesterday, taxpayers know that in 1 year alone, cabinet ministers, executive council, not their departments, booked some 550 charter flights on the government fleet in 1 year alone, Mr. Speaker. That comes to, on average, about 1.5 flights per day, and nowadays it looks like even their business associates can hop on for free. My question, yeah, what a deal. My question is to the provincial treasurer, Mr. Speaker, and it's this. Why on earth does this minister expect the taxpayers of Alberta to foot the bill for free air taxi service for this government at its whim, including its business friends?
Mr. Speaker, the policy with respect to government aircraft falls clearly under the responsibility of the Minister of Public Works, Supply and Services. I'd love to give you a real answer, but I know the minister has even a better answer prepared.
Mr. Speaker, priority use of aircraft in the province of Alberta is dispatched according to 4 priorities that the government has made very clear and made very, very clear publicly for a great period of time. Number 1 priority, Mr. Speaker, is in the conveying of individuals who may be impacted in terms of human life situations. If an individual in any part of the province needs to be transported to a hospital in another part of the province of Alberta, that's priority number 1 for the dispatch priorities in terms of aircraft. Mr. Speaker, the second priority in terms of dispatch and utilization of government aircraft is for environmental disasters, floods, forest fighting, and the like. The third priority, Mr. Speaker, is executive council travel, and the fourth priority is departmental travel. In fact, Mr. Speaker, in the information that we have made available and make available upon request, as I pointed out on several occasions in this Assembly, Mr. Speaker, approximately 17% of all aircraft usage is by executive council. 83% is by various departments of government, and Mr. Speaker, the vast majority of aircraft utilization in this province is for forest fire-related activities. And in fact, Mr. Speaker, that is the reality and that is the fact, Mr. Speaker. And as I indicated a week or more ago, any individual who would like to review the information, Mr. Speaker, is welcome to my office to look through the travel logs.
Mr. Speaker, between June of 88 and June of 89, 111 executive council flights were between Edmonton and Calgary. The following year, 120 were between Edmonton and Calgary. And I checked earlier today. You know how many commercial flights are available every day, work days between Edmonton and Calgary? 62, one every half hour. My question to the provincial treasurer, who's telling everybody else to tighten their belts, pay more and get less, is when is this government going to trim its excesses and stop using expensive government flights and start taking commercial carriers?
Chairman, the policy that the province utilizes in terms of use of the aircraft is very, very clear, and essentially we do have guidelines, Chairman, Mr. Speaker. First of all, ground travel should be used for destinations within 150 kilometers of the capital city when practical. And secondly, Mr. Speaker, that the government aircraft should only be used if, in fact, regularly scheduled aircraft and airlines, this makes it difficult for ministers to return. Mr. Speaker, I gave you an example. A few days ago, I was asked to attend the summit conference of the Association of Professional Engineers, Geologists, and Geophysicists in the province of Alberta. That particular function was in Calgary and did not end till nearly midnight, 12 o'clock. Well, my looking at any schedule, Mr. Speaker, would indicate that there is no aircraft flying from Calgary to Edmonton at that time. It was my responsibility as the minister responsible for the engineering legislation in this province to be there, and there were six other people with me, Mr. Speaker. The choice was very simple. Should we charter a government aircraft, a King Air, at approximately $450 an hour, Mr. Speaker, or should this group of 7 have stayed overnight in Calgary at hotel rates that may have been $40 to $50 or $60 a night, Mr. Speaker? It was very, very much cheaper to use the government aircraft, Mr. Speaker, that saved dollars for the taxpayer, and that is the priority in terms of the utilization of government aircraft in the province of Alberta.
Right on. Calgary Northwest.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the prospectus for Northern Steel includes a requirement for the prospective purchaser to invest some $5 million, provided at least $4.4 million goes towards government loan guarantees to the CIBC for special term and interim operating loans. The document further states, and I quote, "The balance of the new funds may then be utilized to pay out minority shareholdings, despite the fact that would leave Alberta taxpayers on the hook for more than $11 million. To the minister then, in case no one has told him, his responsibility is not to minority shareholders, but in fact to the taxpayers of this province. And my question to the minister is very simply this: why is his department and this government worried about minority shareholders when in fact the potential risk is $11.3 million if a buyer can even be found for Northern Steel? Why would you put us on the hook like that?
Mr. Speaker, our concern is for all the shareholders. We, on behalf of the population of the province of Alberta, own some 83% of Northern Steel. We've got an obligation to that 83%, but also to that other 17%, and we recognize that obligation. I'm glad now that the honourable member will finally retract his foolish statement that he made earlier, whereby we're going to sell this company for $1.
That's the price. Given that the principles of Northern Steel are also the principles of Premier Steel, and given that $340,000 of doubtful accounts were written off, and also that there were $2.3 million of related party transactions between these two firms, will the minister commit to investigating all the financial transactions that occurred between these two companies so that, in fact, we can get as much of our nearly $16 million investment back to the taxpayers where it belongs?
Mr. Speaker, that is our purpose, whereby we are doing our level best to make sure that we recoup all of our backstopping and our investment in Northern Steel. The honourable member... Very good, sir. But what the honourable member has...
Thank you, honourable member. You've been warned 3 times today. Next time... Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, let me indicate to the honourable member that that is our purpose and our obligation to make sure that we recoup all of our backstopping on behalf of the Alberta taxpayer. But it's obviously not the responsibility of the honourable member, because what they have done is their level best to discredit a very credible company in the province of Alberta. I'm amazed at the slander that the honourable member will participate in by trying to draw down what we consider a very viable company. They want to waste additional taxpayers' money by doing this, and we're not going to be any part of it.
Smoky River.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I've been receiving complaints from constituents that the loan guarantee restrictions are too strict. They tell me that the banks are very, very strict in their eligibility rulings, that they have virtually ground the whole process to a standstill. Obviously, the gentlemen in the opposition haven't been involved in trying to establish a business, and perhaps it might be wise to try and do that, and you'd find out the difficulties that are involved. To the Minister of Economic Development and Trade, are you prepared to look at this situation? Because my understanding is that the process is virtually ground to a standstill because of the strict regulations that are in place today, and we're wondering, when you are considering these regulations with a view of perhaps taking off some of the restrictions that are there today, that it would allow the process to flow as it once has.
Mr.
Minister of Economic Development and Trade, please.
Mr. Speaker, as the honourable member for Smoky River has indicated, there is very strict criteria. We table the booklet that outlines the criteria. In addition to that, it is outlined in our legislative authority. But I should indicate to the honourable member that we do rely on the financial institutions to do the assessment, because we feel that they have the methods at their disposal to do a proper assessment, and we rely on them. If the financial institutions do not approve of us guaranteeing the loan, we do not proceed with it. It's interesting to note, though, in the 6.5 years that the export loan program has been in existence, it has created the sales of some $850 million worth of goods, thus in turn creating a substantial amount of jobs for Albertans. Mr. Speaker, we're delighted that we can create jobs. Unlike the New Democratic Party, who are not concerned with jobs, we are concerned with jobs and concerned with economic creation within this province, and we're going to continue to do that.
Smoky River.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In light of the fact that indeed this program does create jobs, and that's the essence to the success of the development of any province or any nation, would the minister share with us today the number of jobs, or do you have a handle on the number of jobs that indeed this program or this type of lending has created in this province?
Mr. Speaker, I share the concern that the honourable member has too, whereby we have to make sure we have meaningful employment for Albertans, and we go on the assessment that economists other than our own suggest that for every $1 billion worth of exports, there are 19,000 jobs created. If one is to equate that with the $850 million worth of sales, we have created in excess of some 16,000 jobs. And just as it relates to jobs, Mr. Speaker, it's interesting to note that the New Democratic Party does not care for jobs in this province nor in the province of Ontario, because I quote from an individual, Mr. Gerald Kennedy. He's the executive director of the Daily Bread Food Bank in Ontario, and he says the poor get poorer under the NDP. We don't want people to get poorer. We want to create jobs. We're going to continue to create jobs rather than the New Democratic Party, which wishes individuals to remain
Edmonton Avonmore.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, yesterday the Minister as responsible for women announced the 1991-92 Action Plan for Women Initiatives. Though some of these initiatives are new and welcome, I am disappointed in the lack of action these supposed initiatives reflect, particularly one to provide additional funding to women's emergency shelters. My question to the Minister is, in light of the fact that this minister announced in her initiatives 2 years ago that funding would be increased to cover costs of essential services in all existing shelters, how is it that shelters still do not receive adequate funds to cover basic emergency services?
Mr. Speaker, the Minister for Family and Social Services will want to respond in great detail, but let me say that with his and other ministers in this government assistance, the Plan for Action has had a steady effect on increasing funding in the area of family violence far and beyond what it was 3 years ago. With that, I would invite the Minister to add details.
Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Labour is quite right in pointing out our commitment to shelters in this province, and I think we should set the record straight and look back over the years. I'd point out, Mr. Speaker, that this year we've increased the budget by 5.7%. Last year it was by 9%. The year before that it was 24%, 10% before that, 30% before that. Mr. Speaker, our funding commitment to shelters in this province has increased by almost 300% in recent years. Mr. Speaker, we recognize, though, that there is more to be done, and I appreciate the presentation that the member for Edmonton Avonmore is making. I can assure her that I'll continue to work with the Minister of Labour and a number of my other colleagues to address not just the problem of the shortages on the women's shelter side, Mr. Speaker, but the whole issue of family violence.
Well, Mr. Speaker, 5,000 families were turned away last year, and that is too many. My second question to the Minister, a second initiative announced by the Minister is to develop a brochure providing information on women and pensions. My question, will this brochure explain the rationale for denying some persons pensions on the basis of marital status, and will this Minister, who is also responsible for human rights, commit to changing this discriminatory legislation?
Mr. Speaker, that is one of the 16 initiatives that we have announced this year, in addition to the many initiatives we've had over the last 3 years. We felt that it was important for women to have access to a readily understood, brief description of pensions and the role pensions play in economic equality, planning for the future in particular, noting that poverty among seniors is most often experienced by women. There will be a full description of pensions in their generality, plus there will be resources and resource staff, shall I say, phone numbers and so forth for people to get more detailed information.
Edmonton Centre, followed by Calgary McKnight.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Environment's announcement last week of the waste minimization and recycling plan was not only a colossal disappointment for many who had higher expectations of what was to come, but it also did little to assist municipalities in expanding their very popular and successful Blue Box program. For instance, in my riding, Mr. Speaker, close to 90% of my constituents live in high-rises and walk-ups, and they do not at all have access to the Blue Box recycling program here in Edmonton, hence most of the waste ends up in the soon-to-be-filled landfill. Will the Minister of the Environment tell the thousands of Albertans who do live in high-rises and walk-ups just how much longer they're going to have to wait before they have full access to an environmentally essential Blue Box recycling program?
Well, Mr. Speaker, the honourable member has lived in this city long enough to know that the Blue Box program in the city of Edmonton was instituted by the city of Edmonton because they have a very special problem here that the previous administration couldn't address, and that is there's a deficiency of landfill in this city. There's a deficiency of landfill, and the landfill site that they bought to try and remedy the situation proved to be environmentally inadequate, and now they've got a big problem. So the Blue Box program is part of a city initiative. The Department of the Environment did not force the city of Edmonton into the Blue Box program. It was a city initiative, and a good initiative, to collect and separate recyclables to avoid putting more materials into the landfill. I would think that this is a matter that the honourable member should take up with the mayor. The comprehensive waste minimization and recycling program is to assist those municipalities that are not now involved in systematic collection and separation of recyclables to become involved, and to lend resources, as we are lending resources to the city of Edmonton, to help them sort out their overall waste management problems. And indeed, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and the Ministry of Environment are working very diligently, not only with the city of Edmonton, but with the 4 surrounding counties and 9 or 10 towns and cities to develop a comprehensive and regional plan.
Carries supplementary.
Mr. Speaker, can't believe we touched such a nerve over there. Obviously, the city of Edmonton has the political will to put the money where their initiatives are, not this government. And maybe you should take a cue or two from the Mayor Reimer and what we're doing in Edmonton. In addition, Mr. Speaker, we've had pilot projects around recycling in apartments and high-rises. There's job creation in the recycling of the waste. There's so much good news here, Mr. Speaker. When will the Minister of Environment take some real action on waste and arrange for direct negotiations with the Mayor of Edmonton and other municipalities to engage with them the ways and means of developing a comprehensive Blue Box program throughout the province?
Mr. Speaker, this member has demonstrated how little he actually knows about what's going on in his own city. I am disappointed, Mr. Speaker, that a person who represents, an individual who represents the heart of this city would know so little about what's going on in his own municipality. Because, in fact, Mr. Speaker, as I've explained before, the minister, my friend and colleague, the Minister of Municipal Affairs, and the Ministry of the Environment have indeed, for the first time in the history of this region, brought together the city of Edmonton, the 4 surrounding counties, about 9 or 10 towns, and we have a resolve from all these municipalities to find a comprehensive approach to the very critical waste management problem facing this particular region. I think that is a remarkable undertaking, and what the honourable members is stay tuned.
Calgary McKnight.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question today is to the Minister of Advanced Education. Mr. Speaker, during the budget speech, the provincial treasurer pointed out that Alberta is the leader in medical research. Yet the reality is that medical researchers are losing confidence in this province's desire to support their efforts. Recently, out of 17 researchers who had been funded by the Alberta Heritage Foundation for Medical Research during the last 10 years, only 5 were approved for continued funding in the scientist category. This leaves 12 researchers facing the end of their funding, and they are only the first group of scholars who will have their funding terminated over the next few years. To the Minister of Advanced Education, will the Minister agree to provide universities with additional funding to make up this gap, to ensure that these eminent scientists will not have to leave Alberta to continue their research activities?
Good question.
Mr. Speaker, the Heritage Fund Medical Research is within the jurisdiction of the Honourable Minister for Technology, Research and Telecommunications. It just happens to be that the facilities in place, being the U of A and the U of C, fall under my jurisdiction. I don't think, Mr. Chairman, I can respond on behalf of the Honourable Minister for TRT, and I would take that as notice.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I do believe that they are hoping that the universities can make up the shortfall. In another vein, again to the Minister of Advanced Education, I'm wondering if this lack of confidence of the medical faculty that they now have in this government, the medical faculties at U of A and U of C, will help the minister to explain his rationalization plan, which is failing, and state very clearly that there is need in this province for 2 medical schools, not 1.
Mr. Speaker, I think it should be pointed out that of all the institutions in Canada in terms of the post-secondary system, the University of Alberta is about the 4th highest in attracting research grants, and indeed, the University of Calgary and the U of A are in the top 10. I believe that speaks for the quality of the people within those institutions. For me to make a judgment call as to whether we need 2 schools of medicine in the province of Alberta, Mr. Speaker, is not within my let's say common sense attitude, Mr. Speaker. I would simply point out that in terms of the number of medical practitioners in Alberta, Alberta is perhaps the highest in North America outside the Mayo Clinic.
Lester Slave Lake.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We have heard a lot about the forest industry in Alberta over the last year and a half. Most of the discussions have centered on major development. Some of us are still waiting for these kind of developments to alleviate the 80% unemployment rate in our areas. Trying to address this issue is the small sawmill industries, which are major employers and have not received the attention they could. These sawmillers are experiencing some serious difficulties, and I would like to ask the Minister of Forestry, Lands and Wildlife what he and his department are doing to help the small sawmill industries.
Mr. Speaker, it's, the honourable member from Lester Slave Lake brings up a very good point, and the small sawmillers in this province are certainly sawmillers are having a difficult time. The entire solid wood industry is having difficulty at the moment. In some ways, market diversification would be beneficial to them. In other cases, the mill upgrades are really the solution. And so we are working very closely with the forest industry, and we recognize both the large and the small sawmill operators are extremely important, and we are now well along in the process of developing a tripartite agreement between the federal government, the industry, and the Alberta government on an agreement that would coordinate an overseas marketing program that would be called the Western Canadian Overseas Marketing Development Program. Will help our industry to tap into the European market. As well, Mr. Speaker, working with individual sawmillers with technical assistance and on an individual basis to develop marketing plans. So we're very intent on helping our small sawmillers through this difficulty.
Thank you. I appreciate the sympathy, and I'm very happy to hear that we are attempting to do a number of things. However, we have a specific situation where these sawmillers are being forced to harvest poplar in their spruce whole blocks, and this decreases the efficiency of the spruce harvest in what is already a short harvest season. When can we expect some concrete action attached to the ideas which you've outlined, as well as to ensure that we do not burden these independent entrepreneurs?
Mr. Speaker, the honourable member can be assured that we will move as quickly as possible, and we are working at present with some of the operators. I've met individually with some of them, and some are doing better than others. We are also working with some of our policies. In logging policies, for example, we want to make sure there's proper utilization of all our resources, and the large companies that are cutting the conifer forest now have to work as well with the small sawmill operators to make sure that the forest is properly utilized. So, Mr. Speaker, I assure the honourable member we're doing all we can at the moment to try and be of assistance to them.
Orders of the day. Might we revert briefly to